One thing that I have noticed with people who've really done their shadow work and they start to get in touch with their inner child, they aren't afraid to play. They aren't afraid to do the simple things. You know, spending an hour playing with a cardboard box with a little child and actually enjoying it themselves. You know, there's something profoundly spiritual about the experience of a child that we should all be looking to take more into our lives, I think, rather than trying to make them grow up too soon and trying to fashion them to fit into a world which I think is actually on a lot of levels extremely toxic. Like, why would we shape them to fit into that? Why instead would we not try and shape the world to fit in with them?
Yeah. Why over structurize everything? Well, I wanted when I heard my reading yesterday on your YouTube channel, I was like, you're such a poet.
Really?
You're such a beautiful poet, and I love poetry, and I hear it coming out of you in the readings, and I wanted to share a couple. So the first one is you pulled out the Magician card and you pulled out the Devil card. So those are like my main cards. And then when you were coming back and forth, you come back to them after a few minutes of reading other cards. And then you said, the magician is only limited by the bounds of his own imagination. And I think that has to do with children too, like how we're talking about the youth. Their imagination is just infinite at that age. Everything is coming from their imagination space.
Yeah.
And when you're living in that place, you're being, like you said, they're just this ball of energy that they're experiencing life with no filters, with nothing that the conditioning brings upon us. And as adults, we can come back to that space. We can become the magician. How eager are you to go into your imagination? Yeah. How do you get into your imagination? You know, you're blessed with your beautiful children and you've been able to experience things like this. But how much time do we give ourselves as adults to do that? You know,
very little, I think. There's a quote by Roald Dahl. At least it's attributed to Roald Dahl. It says, "Those who never look for magic will never find it." And I think there's something about the child experience where literally everything is magic and they are completely accepting of it. They don't question it at all. They don't bring any kind of reservation to the table. They just accept that this magical thing that's just happened, you know, whether it's, and it could be something entirely innocuous, you know, they're full of wonder. And I always feel like the magician is full of wonder too. It's accepting anything that will come in. I mean, he's a lightning rod. That's what he's doing in the position that he's in there. He's pulling down, he's accessing everything that is sat there and he's manifesting it in front of him. Well, what do you want?
Yeah. Speaking of the arm gesture, you mentioned also it was the wizard and the devil card that came up. The devil in this deck that you had, at least, also had his arm up.
Yes. It was funny that I'd never noticed it up until that point, till I saw the two cards.
What deck was that again?
I think it was just in the Rider Waite, was it not?
Okay.
I think it was just standard Rider Waite. I'm almost certain of it. I'd never noticed it up until that point, but I mean, that's the beauty of tarot. It's decks that I've been reading with for years and years and years, and just sometimes something jumps out at you that you've never noticed before.
I found the devil on my end here.
I've got the devil on my end here too. I'm looking for the magician. Where are you? He's hiding. It would be the last card. There it is. Yeah. Seeing them sat side by side. It's just extraordinary. Like I said, it's one of the things that I really love about the tarot. This deck particularly, I've been working with for 20 years. But at that point there, while I was doing your reading and I was looking at it, they were in the same position.
Can you bring it a little bit closer and then a little bit out? There we go. There we go. God, that is so interesting. And you brought up another little poetic line there that, oh, this one hit me to the core. You said, you are slipping from underneath the leash of fear that has ruled you for so long. And that was representative of this card and certain shadows, like the root shadow, like the core of these shadows. And they're chained up. And the tarot cards are so incredible. And I want to kind of get into that too now. And I'm so glad that I met you, because what I have been doing with my own tarot readings, because I'm definitely not seasoned at it at all. I literally have cheat sheets I have and all of that. But it was like it's my new way that I have incorporated my shadow work. So like basically I call to my higher self and I kind of just set the mood. I get myself super focused and I just want to know what my higher self is wanting me to see, where I should focus my energy and all of that. So what I've noticed is like, that's the new way that I understand what parts of myself I'm not seeing clearly that are causing whatever shit's going on in my life at that time. And that's what the cards reveal to me.
Yeah.
And then that's when I'm able to release things after. And then whatever, really resonated with me, I keep around in my visibly for the rest of the week, or until I feel like I have conquered that. So let's say I got the Chariot and that really represented something for me, keeping it around. And then when I see that card out and I'm like, okay, like I've gone through that transition, and then I'll tend to do another reading for myself after that.
I was just going to say, I think that's a really, really wise thing to do. I have a friend who's a chaos magician, and he says observation is processing. And he's right. By observing this thing, it can't remain where it is anymore. It necessarily changes. And when you're dealing with the shadow, it is the things that you do not see about you, right? So you disavow it and you don't see it anymore, right? It's behind you. By keeping something totemic, whether it's a tarot card or whatever, in front of you, so that you have to keep seeing, it's there, you are processing it. And that's how the release happens. It's about identification first, acknowledgement of it being there. Because most people, when you disavow something, you don't want anything more to do with it. You don't recognize the fact that it's there. And we engage in a lot of mental gymnastics, avoiding the confrontation with our shadow all the time. So like what you're doing there, absolutely spot on.
Great. Yeah, I think I'm, when you get sick of just delaying your process, you don't want to miss out. Like you want to do it when your intuition kicks in. You got to take care of business, because if not, dissipate and you fall back asleep in that area of your life. So it's like the most important thing is like just stay awake for as long as you possibly can. Remain as lucid as long as you possibly can. Hold on to those moments, and then keep your little stepping stones, whatever way you need to, so that you can get back there a little quicker next time.
Definitely.